Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Disney Cruise Line Show, your source for Disney cruise news and reviews. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, John Sicari.
Hi, everyone.
Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
Our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Oh, hi, hi.
And joining us via Skype, Dreams Unlimited travel agent, Ms. Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
And just a reminder, while I'm on the topic of Dreams Unlimited Travel, this show, along with all the content we produce, brought to you by DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com. So if you like our content, you want to show your support, the best way to do that, go ahead and book your next Disney Cruise Line vacation with Dreams Unlimited Travel. You're going to get a great shipboard credit that'll be waiting for you when you get on board. Plus, you get the services of a phenomenal agent like Elaine Edwards, who are going to help you with every aspect of your trip. So please, DreamsUnlimitedTravel.com. And it's the same price as if you go through Disney directly. You're just getting the shipboard credit in addition. So you're leaving money on the table, not booking with Dreams. All right, this week we are going to talk about Juneau, Alaska, from our epic trip on the Wonder to Alaska, which was an epic trip.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
Wait, was it an epic trip?
You really want me to throw something at you?
Juneau, I do.
Well, keep it up. Keep it up. No, I had a wonderful time on that trip.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, all of us did.
I had a wonderful time on that trip. Always do. Always do. Was not my first time going to Alaska, and it never gets old. It never gets old. Worth every penny.
Agree.
Worth every
I
penny.
look back at the pictures and it just instantly takes me right back to like being there, and especially out on the looking at the glacier, and it was amazing. It was an amazing trip.
It was.
I remember seeing the first little spot of blue ice in the water, and Craig is like, "Oh, don't get too excited over that. It's going to get a lot better." And he was right.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like watching a black and white movie. Well, when you're going up the Inside Passage, it's kind of like watching a black and white movie slowly come into color, because the beginning of that day, it's kind of gray and there's a fog and things like that. Then you start seeing little bits of glacier in the water, that bright blue glacier ice in the water.
It looks like that toilet bowl blue stuff that you put in to clean. It was like, how does it get that blue?
And then as you proceed up, it's a wonderful analogy.
Yeah, I was going to say the toilet of Alaska.
As you proceed up the Inside Passage, it just starts to get more colorful. The sun comes out. You start seeing more of the green, because it's really, people really aren't living there. So it's completely undeveloped. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Juneau. And Rhino, I'll start with you. What was your experience in Juneau?
Juneau. So we went about. We did the kayaking excursion to. Was it Mendenhall Glacier? Is that the glacier?
Mendenhall Lake Kayak Adventure.
Okay, yeah. Which they pick you up at the ship, and we were transported over in a van. It was probably about like 10 of us, I want to say. It was about, I don't know, 20 minutes away, 25-minute drive away. And you go and it's a long excursion. It was a couple of hours. So you've got to go there. You set up. It was cool, though. What I liked about getting in the van and going off to go to this kayaking excursion was that they're driving you through parts of like Juneau that I don't think we would have seen otherwise, because it was a lot of like, I got to see some residential neighborhoods and sort of how I'm always fascinated in these cities like this and places like you said that are a little less developed, like the population is a lot lower, like just like, what does day-to-day traffic look like? What's the infrastructure look like? So that was cool. And then we got to essentially this like parking lot that was right outside of this like really, really gorgeous lake area that was I mean it's like I don't know how to describe it, because it's literally like something out of a movie.
He's talking about Mendenhall Glacier, and that's one of the biggest sightseeing things you can do at Juneau. It is also part of excursion that Elaine and Panda did too. And so like the reason why we chose this one in particular was because we didn't know at the time if we were going to be able to get on the small boat and get closer to the glacier during our day in the Inside Passage and such. And so we wanted to set ourselves up with an opportunity to be able to get as close to a glacier as possible. And when we saw that we could kayak out to one, that's kind of like one of those really unique things. And then reading more about it, whether or not it's BS, they said that like you have to have a special permit in order to do it. You can't just like bring your kayak out and go anytime you want. So not that I'm ever going to fly up there and do that on my own, but it just kind of had that unique style to it. So if you wanted to go see the glacier, you can also get to it via an excursion, or there are some ride shares, not a lot though. I think I counted like there was 3 lift cars running while we were in Juneau that day, and that was it. But there's a complex that I'm sure Panda and Elaine will talk a little bit more about. You can get really close to this beautiful waterfall. You have a great view of the glacier. But for our kayak adventure, we were on the complete opposite side, so we had a little bit further of a ride around, and they kind of dumped us in a desolate area that if we got stranded, I don't think I would have known how to describe to someone where I was.
There was essentially a bathroom area, like a public restroom, and it was the type with no sinks and just holes in the ground. So that was a unique start for me, who doesn't like to be like, I like to see and do nature, but I like a sink and a toilet. So that was it. I was like, what have we done? This is where the murders start. But there was a lot of people there, so it was fine. But no, it was cool because I haven't kayaked a ton in my life. I mean, my family is big kayakers, but I was just like, no, too much upper body strength. I don't have that. So it was we found out they make you go in tandem. So it's all the one that we chose. So we had to climb in together, much to Craig's chagrin, and they give you like we were wearing boots, right? Did they give us shoes?
Yeah, they give you the equipment that you need. Like everyone showed up kind of dressed for, we're going on a lake in Alaska. It could be cold and it could be wet, but they provided you with a skirt, so that way that kind of goes over and protects water from coming into your kayak. They give you boots just to keep extra dry with your feet, and you don't have to get your shoes wet then. And, they make sure like you need to be bundled up for it, because there are... Like when we went, there was still glaciers.
You're going to a glacier, for God's sake.
Exactly. And there were big chunks of ice that we weren't allowed to get close to, but they were still floating and keeping the water temperature down. I was doing a lot of work, so I was fine in just like a long sleeve shirt, but I think a lot of people need to bundle up for it. But
you were wearing a t-shirt.
It was I just wearing a t-shirt?
Yes, because I just looked at the photo of you, and I was like, but he was also, I think, was like, probably should have worn one more layer. But yeah, because when you start to kayak, it was like my hand dipped in the water the first time, and I was like, sweet Jesus, I didn't know it could be that freezing. So it was one of those where I was like, this is a good start. So
it was a workout. It was not a relaxing excursion by any means. It's also a slightly expensive excursion.
$229 a person.
Yeah, but I will say it is one of the most unique things I've done in Alaska. It's not, it's not whale watching. It's not the glacier expedition that we did, but it's one of those cool things. Like when we were sitting out in the middle of that lake, just kind of like having a serene moment while no one else was around us, and I professed my undying love to Rhino.
It was weird.
He turned me down. It's fine. I got over it, but it was like one of those things where I will always have that mental image of being out there. And it just like, it sucked though. On the way back, the winds picked up, we had to cut our trip short. And I thought I was going to pass out on the van ride back. I was so tired.
Because we had to. So it takes a long time. It took longer to get back than it did to get out because of what he said, because of the winds. But it was like this incredible. Like we met like so the group could like reform together right by like a ledge of a I don't want to say a cliff, but like it's kind of a drop off area. It just looked like something out of like. In Star Wars, where like Mark Hamill was separated from everybody else in the new movies, it reminded me a lot of that. There'd be a lot of like birds and stuff. It was just like really, really beautiful. And then you take this bend around, and that's where like the wind really gets you. But you're like right there, like that's the glacier. There's ice from a glacier. There's a thing, and it's just one of those like really kind of, like he already said, surreal or serene, but it's just like pulls you out of yourself. And it's one of those experiences where you feel all of a sudden like the weight of the world, I think, or like this weird connection to it. I mean that in a good way, not in a bad way, in terms of being like, you're connected, like feeling like I can't believe there's places like this in the world, you know, and like I can't believe I'm sitting here floating in this water right here. And then that turnaround to get back, though, it was one of those where you see the land and it just is never getting closer, and you're like, I've died. I died over there in that glacier water, and I am just living through this like the Greek Sisyphus, like trying to push that boulder up that hill. But no, it was
bizarre
really
analogies
cool.
coming out of him.
Yeah. I felt like it was an educated one.
No, it was good. The only thing I would say, if you're solo, if you feel like you're in a double or quadruple group and you just don't want to do that intense amount of work, or you have an odd number, they also do a canoe excursion where you're in these giant canoes, and I think there's like 10 to 12 people in those, and they're able to go a lot further, and obviously people are splitting up the work, so that might be a better recommendation. This one, I would say, have a little experience on kayaking before you just go out there.
Yeah, and I would be wary about like being like, oh, we're gonna bring the kids or whatever. I'd be like, unless you have like specifically gone with your kids, because there was like one or two groups. They were definitely like struggling with
Mom
their
and
kid,
Dad
and they
were
kept
doing
like
all the work.
drifting. Yeah. But we did that was incredible. And then we went back and we had lunch in Juneau. We went to this place called
lunch was part of this.
No, they did this little like setup after you were done. They like I think it was like hot cider set up, and then like salmon dip that had been sitting out for hours, and so we're like, well, should we risk the food poisoning in this situation?
What do you feel like after this workout? Diarrhea or no diarrhea? I was feeling no diarrhea, so yeah. But yeah, and then they brought us back and dropped us, I think, like right at the port. They gave us the option, because this was the area where the port was, where Disney was docked, was a little bit a ways. Yeah, so they had a shuttle going back and forth, but we were the only people that were like, yeah, we'll get out in the downtown area. So they dropped us off downtown, which was nice.
Yeah. Yep, and we ate at a brewery, believe it or not.
Devil's Club Brewing. And it was very cool.
Yeah, we had
very good.
Some of the most decadent grilled cheese sandwiches that I ever had. It was so good, and the beer was awesome there. We also stopped off at another brewery called Barnaby Brewing Company. I would also recommend that too. They're going to try to get you to go to Alaskan Brewing, which I do recommend. I wear a lot of their shirts. I love that beer. It's what I drink on Disney Cruise Line cruises to Alaska. It's really, really good. I would say try out different spots while you're there, or if you do want to they have a free shuttle that runs like every 15 minutes to their actual brewery. Take that and support them directly there. But don't there's like a little makeshift restaurant that set up in the town with their name on it, but that's just they license their name for it. So I just always get asked about beer, and so I would say definitely try to do Devil's Club or Barnaby. If you want to do the real Alaskan brewing, go there. But yeah, you might want to even consider doing a ride share to get out there to be faster.
I just want to say too, what took me by surprise about Juneau in general. Actually, honestly, a lot of the places we stopped in Alaska, but Juneau specifically, I wasn't sure I was going to go. Is that there was a lot of pride flags that were up there, so it felt a lot more welcoming, because that's always a thought in the back of my head, is like, what's it like for a queer person to be around and go here? Like, are you going to feel comfortable at a bar or wandering around and stuff like that? And I don't know, it's in the woods, so I have no idea what's going on.
It's a trap.
Yeah, so I was like really surprised, because I made an offhanded comment where I was like, oh, there's the one gay bar, but then there was like had the stickers and the safe space stickers up everywhere, so it was surprising to me.
I like that.
Okay. Now, Panda, what did you do?
All right, so I'm not kayaking. I might be able to get in the kayak, but I know I'm not getting out, so I didn't do that. I trusted Jackie to do something comfortable adventure. This was a mistake. Elaine came with us. She can attest to this. I don't know if it was as hair-raising for Elaine as it was for Jackie and I, but it was a Mendenhall Glacier tour that we added on this seemingly innocent rainforest garden adventure. The Mendenhall Glacier was the same Mendenhall Glacier that Rhino and Craig were at, except we went to the actual visitor center. We saw a little movie. I think Elaine went more exploring and didn't watch the little movie. Little movie told you about how the glaciers are receding, and what we're seeing now is not how great it was 10 years ago. So try to get out there and see it before this stuff is gone. And then you go and you have little trails. We went to Photo Point, which was a 1/3 of a mile trail. Really nice to do. Beautiful pictures. The waterfall, we weren't up as close as Elaine got to it, but you got to see it nicely. Took pictures. Then they took us to the death trap area that was, I'm telling you, we're going to read about it one day. I don't know if anybody's going to like this. There's the garden rainforest adventure. The vehicle, I would say, is like a Kilimanjaro safari vehicle, probably about 5 feet wide. I want you to picture an 800 feet tall mountain with a circular path going up that is 5 feet 1 inches.
Oh, it was a switchback. It was a switchback. A switchback. Which made it even worse.
Worse.
Oh my God! Wait, so you had to do the thing where you came down, like the ball, like coming down the thing?
There is no railing. They don't tell you to keep your kids on the inside, but you have to, because if they fall out. And there is video on this. I don't know if it's going to be Patreon or if it's going to go up on the regular channel, but I do have some video where you're going up this mountain. They call it a rainforest. It's just a desolate forest. They talk about how there's frequent earthquakes, frequent mudslides. The road piddles out and gets destroyed, and a lot of bad things happen as you're going up. It's really, really pleasant. And you look like you're going to fall, and then you have to come down. And Jackie and I are just at this point going to a safe space in our minds because we just are freaking out a little bit. Elaine looked like she was doing really well with it. So I don't know. Elaine, did you freak out a little bit?
Not at all.
See? Okay.
And this
I was just praying for Jackie to get a little bit of relief and be okay. That's how I spent my...
Yeah.
And just to make a note here, this is a $79 per person.
That's with the glacier and the rainforest. Is $79?
Mendenhall Glacier and Rainforest Garden Adventure is $79 a person.
That's
right. And it's $39 for kids.
And how much?
$39 for kids.
Okay.
And if you had done it just the glacier and had not added on the rainforest, it would be, I think it was $59 because I looked it up. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that rainforest again. There wasn't enough to see to have the danger that I felt on it.
So my experience, like I said, I was with them. This was, we booked this cruise pretty last minute. We booked it a few weeks before it traveled. And so there wasn't a lot to be able to book as far as excursions were, because most of the stuff was sold out. And so when I was looking in the Navigator app and I saw that Craig and Rhino had their kayaking, and then I saw that Panda and Jackie had this booked, and I was kind of looking, and I did, the day before is when we were in Skagway, and I did that giant best of Skagway and literally did everything Alaska that you can imagine. And so it did have somebody suggest to me, go to Mendenhall Glacier. So I was looking at both of these, and I kind of actually really wanted to do the kayaking because I do kayak and I do enjoy it. But as Craig said, it was a double kind of a thing. And so then I would be by myself, and I wasn't sure if that was going to work out or not. So I joined on with Panda and Jackie, and we went out there. And so I actually ended up doing the longest trail, which I think it was about a 2-mile hike, because that's the one that got you, what they were saying is that gets you the closest to the glacier. And the problem is that you will have your best picture and your best view of the glacier from the visitor center when you get there, because the closer you get, the way and the angle that the glacier is, it's hidden behind the side of the mountain and the waterfall. So when I got all the way to the peak of this trail, where I'm actually standing with my feet in the water out on this peninsula, it was the waterfall. I was standing next to the waterfall, and you can't see the glacier at all. So that's something to know about this. And you definitely want to wear, I was wearing duck boots, so you definitely want to wear sturdy shoes, because while it is a paved trail, it's not a smooth trail. It's very uneven. There's water across the road or across the trail, so I wanted to make sure I was wearing waterproof shoes, very sturdy shoes, that kind of thing. I was wearing jeans and a long sleeve t-shirt, and I felt like that was the right thing to wear. I was very much stressing out on what I was going to wear, but I felt like I made the right decisions for what I did. But like I said, just know that if you're going to do this, you're not going to see the glacier when you get to the end of the trail. And if you're going to do that that longest trail, as soon as you get there, you need to take off and go. Because if you don't, we only had like, I think, minutes from the time they dropped us off to the time they said you got to be back on the bus because we're going to the next stop. So like I just made it back just as the bus was pulling up. So you got to really hoof it out there and really hoof it back if you're going to do that.
Yeah, the one trail that said photo point was actually better because it was 1/3 a mile and you didn't have to rush back, and the pictures from there were pretty good.
Right. Yep.
So you wouldn't do it again, Panda?
Oh, I would do Mendenhall Glacier again in a minute. I would not do the rainforest thing. No.
What about you, Elaine? Would you do it again?
Yeah, I agree. I would. The Mendenhall Glacier is fantastic, especially if you didn't get on the tender boats to be able to see the glacier up front. This is a great opportunity for that. It is very crowded, so be aware there is a lot of people from a lot of cruise lines and a lot of tours out there. It is very, very, very crowded. I mean, even on the trail that I took all the way to the end, there was a lot of people. But the Rainforest Adventure, like, it's not what I thought it was going to be when it was saying rainforest and botanical gardens. Like, it was just woods. So
It was.
that part is, I don't believe it's worth the add-on for me. No.
If you're a Star Wars fan and you like Dagobah, is that where Yoda came from? The swamp?
Dagobah?
Dagobah. Thank you. That is what it
roll
looked
my eyes.
He says it with such judgment.
Judgment. That is what it looked like, though. That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah. All the stories are interesting. The guy that owns it is still there and still does work, but he's kind of like Sasquatch. Like, there's a lot of stories about him, but nobody ever sees him, kind of a thing. Steve.
Yeah. Yes.
His name was Steve, and they talked about Steve. But it's the stories are interesting. You get to the very top, and you're 800 feet up, and you get to see you can take pictures of the town all the way around. I think we could see our cruise ship as well from the top there, but it's not worth the add-on to me, honestly.
And Rhino, what about you? Would you do yours again?
I think it was worth doing if you had never been, and I think as a one-time thing, I would recommend it. But I don't think, for me, I don't think personally like it's a repeat. I'd try something else if I'd already been there once before. But because it was very expensive, and I mean it was cool. How often are you going to be able to get that close to a glacier and be able to see that? But yeah, it's a little. It's hard because you're only in the city for so long and you want to do many things. So it's a very time consuming thing. So I'm very happy I did it. But if I were to ever do like another Alaska cruise, I don't think it'd be like a priority for me.
How long was your excursion? How long was the kayak?
I think
total?
it was like 4 hours from beginning to end. Because we were like kayaking for like more than 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty long, and that's the tough part with Juneau. It's kind of a short day. You get in around 10 o'clock, I want to say, and then we packed up around like 4:45. So it's very, very limited time, and ours didn't go off until like noon.
Yeah.
So because of that, we had like we were even tighter on time. We might have went off at like 11, but it was like we had a solid hour to hang out in the town after we were done, and we had to rush around because of that. And it's kind of a bummer. You want to be able to see a little bit more of the city. So I would say with Juneau, if you see a one-time like opportunity, like this is the time I want to do that here in Juneau, do it. But if you want to see the city too, make sure you choose a shorter excursion, or don't choose an excursion at all. I think it's a fun little city to walk around. I mean, it's their capital, and there's a gondola right in the middle of the city that goes up. I don't know where it goes up to because I've never had time to do it. I just know that if you don't watch the line to go back down the gondola, you can get stuck up at the top and miss your cruise ship. So don't be that person and do that. But yeah, it's there's a lot of varied activities here, and I know I whale watched here before, and the whale watching was great. I know, Pete, you did like a bear thing in Juneau once before too.
I did.
Remember the photos you took of that. It was incredible.
Yeah, we got to see bears.
Yeah.
As a, for me, I'm not going to be kayaking or hiking or any of that. But we did one where we go out to this observation area, and you get to see bears.
Oh, that's cool.
And what they tell you on that is do not attempt, because like what'll happen is you'll have babies, cubs, that will climb up. They'll see the people up because this walkway is elevated above the floor of the forest or whatever the hell it is. And these baby cubs will see these people and they're curious. They want to see more. What they tell people, do not attempt to reach out and touch these bears because the mother is right down below. The mother is right down below. And of course you have people and like, oh, look how cute. And you have the guide screaming, do not touch the bears.
I've seen The Revenant. I'll take my chances against the bear.
So I've done that. On this particular trip, my boyfriend and I just walked around town, had lunch, a rather forgettable lunch. I can't even tell you where we stopped. Did a little shopping. There was nothing on the excursion list. I didn't do any excursions on this trip.
You didn't need to.
I was shopping. And I will tell you, shopping in Alaska, really no different than shopping in the islands. Really no difference.
If you forget to bring a sweatshirt, they really have the best sweatshirts for like $15, $20, hoodies and everything. I was like, you didn't need to bring one. You could get a nice one there.
Yeah, they've got lots of tchotchke to buy. Lots of Alaska tchotchke to buy, if that's what you're into. Which, and again, I've done this trip so many times never gets old. But it's like I like to just walk around town and kind of check it out and soak it up. So, all right, there you have it. That's our look at Juneau, Alaska, on our Alaska sailing on the Disney Wonder. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you again next week with another episode of the DCL Show. Have a great week, folks.